Welcome to this instructional video on the use and application of labels. This in-depth video provides some more insights into these advanced settings within our platform. If you haven't seen the other videos yet about the general use of the platform, templates, playlists, screens, then watch those first before you watch this video. I will now take you through what labels can do, and specifically about the settings that work when using sub-users. So I'm taking you along now. I'm currently in the playlist overview, and you can see that several labels have already been created under the different playlists. As mentioned, you can apply labels in two ways within this platform. On one hand, you can use labels to apply a filter, which you can see above in the bar. So you can check this option, and then you see the available labels that are visible on this platform. The labels you see apply to templates, playlists, screens, library, as well as other items to which you can attach labels. So primarily the use of filtering. How do you create labels now? You create the labels by looking under a specific object and clicking the Add Label button. If labels already exist, such as in this case HR or marketing, you can simply click on them and they will be added. You can also see that it has now been added here. If no label exists yet, press that button again, and then you will see a large button at the bottom with Create a New Label. You create this and you will assign a name to this label. When do you apply a certain type of label? And in general, what name should I assign to a label? This can of course be much better aligned with the type of organization you are or how you want to handle labels. If you use labels for filtering, you can, for example, say I filter everything based on location. Tilburg, Breda, or another location within your organization. You can do it based on department, as I have now prepared with marketing and HR. But you should ideally consider what type of labeling I need for using this platform. Especially as I delve deeper into the application of labels and sub-users. You will see what effect that has on the use of labels in combination with our platform. For now, I have already created HR and marketing. But in addition, I just want to briefly show the options of what else you can see here. Because you can create a label, and I'll just call this one Reception for now. I'll give it a color. It doesn't matter. The color is not relevant for the use of the label, but it just adds a nice touch of color. And besides that, you can set some permissions. When you create a label, you can set a specific sub-user label permission. This matters when dealing with sub-users under label filter. Also want to work with sub-users. So, have you not yet seen the other video about using this platform? Then watch that first before you proceed with this. What does this do? What does the permission do? What you can do is, at the moment you create a label, you can ensure that existing sub-users within your account view object with this label or cannot be seen. So at the moment I create a reception, I assume for a moment that all the people working in marketing, HR, the IT department, or another type of department within your organization should not be able to see anything with this label. You want to ensure that the object is hidden. I select that option. So in the sub-user menu, I will ensure that the rest, meaning all other sub-users, are not allowed to see anything with this label. I will show this in more detail in the sub-user menu when I get there. I press Save now, and I have created the label. You see a notification in the top right corner that the label has been created. I have only created the label so far. I just need to apply the label now. Within playlists, but you will soon see that this is also applicable to templates and screens, for example. How does that work, adding a label? It works the same way as creating a new label. You simply press the Add Label button. and you can now see that reception has been added. You can of course also select a different label, if that better suits your type of playlist. I select reception and you can see that it has been added. Additionally, you can of course add multiple labels to an existing object, if the playlist in this case is relevant for both labels. But as mentioned, you can apply labels in all forms and apply all different types of solutions, but make sure it best aligns with how you plan to use the platform. If you would like advice on this, please contact one of our specialists. They will be happy to explain the label principle to you in more detail. As mentioned, you can apply labels based on filtering so that you only use labels to your platform better and thus filter it. You do this with the button above. You can apply the same label on my templates or screens. The position on the page determines the variation in content, and thus also apply multiple labels if they are relevant to all labels. This is a piece of filtering and how you will apply labels. Now I will go back to the part where you apply it based on your sub-users. For that, I go to my account, I click on the icon, then my account, and then I click on the sub-users button. Here I see an overview of all the sub-users within my account. At the moment that I have the correct permissions, I can set permissions for these sub-users. Label settings also appear here. I am going to do that for this account. And you apply the settings or permissions per sub-user. When you click on that, you also have label settings in the menu. What you see now is that when you have created a label, it appears as an addition in this menu. What you just saw is that when I had created a label, I could set the permission of the label for existing sub-users. And I had said at the reception that everything active with this label must be hidden. That's why this setting is also set to hidden. The hidden nature of this label, especially when creating new labels, is certainly relevant for large organizations, because if you've just added a new type of label and you forgot to apply those settings to hide it, it means everyone can see objects with this label. That's why when adding a new label, it's important to immediately check if the permissions of this label are correct and if everyone is allowed to see it, all existing sub-users, or if no one is allowed to see it, which again concerns existing sub-users. Always keep in mind that when you create a label, you should immediately check those settings carefully. It's also beneficial to consider in this context that you first outline your label structure on paper. What type of users do I have? What type of organization am I? And what do I actually want to do with this platform? How do I want to communicate, and how do I ensure that sub-users see the right things within the platform? You also do this with labels. Again, you can use labels for filtering, but you can also ensure that certain things are visible based on sub-users in combination with those labels, or not visible. How can you further configure this? You can set permissions per account, go to label settings, and you can assign certain things here. Namely, you can set things to hidden. Did you forget? Then you can still do this per person, per sub-user. Specify whether someone is allowed to see something or not. Additionally, you can immediately update all the labels below to hidden, or update them to be visible. When you have many more labels applied and in use, you can adjust the permissions with just one click. Adjust the permissions within them. What is also convenient is that when a person is linked to a label, such as being linked to marketing, you would also want this label to be automatically added when this person creates something. Because what also happens is that when you apply labels and you have certain templates, playlists, or screens not linked to a label, everyone sees that template or playlist, It is therefore important that when you apply labels, you apply them consistently. Otherwise, you will always have contamination, or sub-users will see something they are not supposed to see. That is why this button exists. This automatically ensures that when this sub-user creates something, they automatically receive this label, marketing. Additionally, when this person logs in, they see nothing linked to HR and nothing linked to reception. I will now demonstrate that. I will log in as this user to show how it works. I will now go to playlists. And as mentioned, this person is linked to the marketing label. And when something is linked to the marketing label, I can see it. In this case, playlists. If something is not linked to a label, I can also see that. Because you must always associate everything with labels. If you don't, you'll see that everyone fits into that type. I can ensure that something is assigned to a label myself. I can click on it, but I can only see my own labels as I have made sure that I cannot see the other labels. So, when you apply those labels correctly, I can ensure that I can only apply my own label. And in this way, you can exclude many more things within the platform. So, all platform functionalities and everything linked to a label. Therefore, once again, be consistent with the application of labels, that you will work with them in this way. I can apply a label, but above all, I can work with those labels, because it is also the case that I automatically create a label when I create a spear list. I demonstrate that by adding a spearhead list to marketing. I press save. The spearhead list is created. I briefly return to the overview. Click on that. And I immediately see that I have created this spearhead list, but also that this label has been assigned. Because I ensured that when this person creates something, they automatically receive this label. And that ensures that you never again have spearhead lists or other objects without a label in your platform, provided you have applied those options correctly. So, how do you handle labels within this platform? Two ways. You can use it for filtering, as you see above in the menu structure. You can create labels, and they will appear here. Additionally, you can link labels to sub-users. And with certain permissions, you can ensure that things within the platform are visible or not visible. Do you have a large organization and work, for example, in marketing departments, IT departments, HR departments? You can thus ensure that certain communications are either visible or not visible. Would you like to know more about this, or would you like advice on using labels? Then contact our specialists. They are happy to assist you in setting up the best for your organization. This is the end of the instructional video about labels. Haven't you seen the other instructional videos yet? Then quickly watch them back. And this is how you can best set up your account. Thank you for watching and see you soon on our platform.